So I wanted to hop on here for a second and talk about how I deal with sadness as a mental health practitioner. This morning, it is May 30th, 2025, and it is the last day of school. I have two children, one 19 and one 16, and the 16-year-old's getting ready to get her license. So this was the last day of me driving her to school. With the 19-year-old, we fought every day about getting up. We fought all the way to school, and I couldn't wait for him to get his license and be driving himself to school. What I didn't realize was how much less I would see him and how much less I would be involved in his life once he got his license. So, armed with that information, I tried to make the most of every morning with my daughter and driving her to school and actually having that time to talk with her because she is busy too. She has friends, she plays ball, the typical teenage stuff where they're not hanging out with you so much. So at this point, I know the change that's getting ready to come. So I was a little bit tearful, trying not to be too tearful because she had to go to school and I didn't want her to be upset. I told her why, that I was going to miss her, and she's like, oh, it'll be okay. Very sweet. So on the way home, there were more tears. I did try to turn on a podcast and listen to something, but my brain wouldn't check in. Once I got home, I decided to do some breath work. There are lots of breathwork techniques that help you move emotions through your body and can help calm your system. I use an app called Breathe, but there are a lot of YouTube videos free on different breathwork practices, and I also hope to get some of those videos up myself for you guys. So I went through the breath work, and then I did emotional freedom technique, which is an Eastern medicine practice of tapping on meridian points to release energy. I also have an app I use for that, the tapping solution. So I did those two things and I started to feel a little bit better. Kind of the knot in my chest was still there and is still there, but I did feel calmer, and it helped me from spiraling because I have a tendency to take that sadness, the sadness of her getting her license and knowing I'm not going to be spending as much time with her, and turning that into sadness for 2 years from now when she'll be going to college, or whenever she might get married and move on and have her own life. Those are things I don't need to be sad about right now. But if I didn't calm my brain and do those techniques, my mind very well might have been there and I might have been grieving. Who knows how far it would have went. But tuning into my body, doing the breath work, doing the tapping helped me calm my mind and settle down. Like I said, I still feel the sadness. It's still there. It's also a rainy, gloomy day to top it all off. But I've moved through some of it, and so I've processed some of it through my body. You can feel emotions in your body. Everybody's a little bit different. This sadness is like right here in my chest, kind of like a tight lump, just kind of sitting there. But it is eased. It has. Other things I did this morning to help myself out was I made me something to eat so I'd have some protein. Not eating protein in the morning and having a lot of carbs and blood sugar dips can cause you to feel anxious and unsettled. It wasn't extravagant, it wasn't impressive. I took a Kodiak cake cup, like a protein pancake, added some milk in it, microwaved it for 60 seconds. So I don't want to give the visual that I'm doing like this great morning routine, because I'm not. The tapping and the breathing together for me this morning was about 8 minutes, but there are 1 minute breathing practices. There are tapping practices that can go anywhere from 2 minutes to very long tapping practices. But what I'm saying is, just because there's not a lot of time doesn't mean you can't work some of this breath work and tapping in. A lot of times between sessions, if one session has been really heavy, I will do a quick tapping or a quick breathing just so I can kind of release that session and be fully present for my next client. Kind of that old me, I would go to distraction to deal with these issues. So I would have probably got on Facebook or Instagram or, something with those quick dopamine hits just to make me forget about it. But as I've studied, as I've healed, as I've gotten more self-awareness, I use the mantra that I want to make a decision that the future me will thank me for. And getting those quick hits of dopamine from scrolling is not something that sets you up for a good day. No matter if even in perfect mental health, you do not want to start your day like that, because it triggers your dopamine centers, and then it's hard to ever feel satisfied the rest of the day once you've started it like that. It's so important to feel your emotions. I have a good friend that says you just bury that stuff way down deep and you never look at it, but that's not how it works. Buried and repressed emotions, they come out as anxiety, depression, possibly high blood pressure, migraine, muscle tension, stomach problems, you name it. There's more and more research showing that, emotional suppression comes out some way, either physically or mentally eventually. A lot of times there can just be a tipping point, like everything is good and you're thriving, and then one event and it's all, everything kind of pours out and you're not able to function anymore. This had kind of happened to me in 2016. I was in a wreck and I was whiplashed pretty bad, and my car was totaled, but I wasn't hurt. I didn't even go to the hospital, but I got like a acute stress reaction from that, and almost like a PTSD, and I wasn't wanting to drive and all these things. So I went and saw a therapist to deal with this, and after a few sessions she said, I think this is about more than the wreck. And she kind of started asking me about some different things in my life, and that's when I realized how much I had suppressed and how much it had affected my relationships and affected my life. I wasn't really ready at that time to dive deep with this lady. I was actually kind of mad at her for not just fixing the fact that I was having trouble driving. But it was the beginning of the awareness of what I needed to heal, and that I no longer needed to suppress emotions, and I needed to kind of dig up and work through a lot of the ones that I had suppressed. So I just wanted to give you guys that insight. Everybody is different on how they allow emotions to move through their body, but it's important that you feel them, that you allow for them, and you allow them to move through. So there's ways like the breath work, the tapping, taking good physical care of yourself. There's all kinds of ways we can let it move. There are lots of tapping videos and breathwork videos on YouTube already, some great resources. And like I said, I hope to dive a little bit deeper with you guys into the emotional freedom technique or tapping and breath work in future videos. I hope you guys have a great day. And for all of those of you that have parents, that are parents and have kids that are graduating or moving into another stage, and you're feeling kind of that little bit of a hole in your heart, I'm right there with you this morning, and pray that you have a good day. Love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.